Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Icy, and today we're going to be talking about something that kind of continues from the Urbanspook video that I made a few months ago. I'm genuinely surprised that the video turned out so well. I want to thank the people who took the time to listen and support me and my arguments in the video. I'm glad to see that there are some mature members of the community, so thank you to those who actually watched the video. So a while after that video was made, the Bombman and I came across some new batch of information concerning people on Twitter who are targeting Urbanspook. The main person I'm talking about is Pastra, whom I literally just realized is a big content creator, along with his best buddy Phisnom. I think this Phisnom guy was the creator of the FNAF Plus, which I was incredibly pissed off to hear why the game got cancelled, because it was literally one of the only FNAF fan games that I was looking forward to. Anyway, we've been told that there are some things that Pastra said and done that conflict with the nature of his beef with Urbanspook. So something important to consider is that not many people talk about the serious shit people are accusing Urbanspook of because of his fiction. There are literally people on Twitter who perceive him as having actual pedophilic tendencies because of the topics he conveys in his analog horror series. People who read shit on Twitter from popular influencers like in the fuck-ass FNAF community are usually prone to jump to conclusions and immediately associate Urbanspook and his work with actual pedophilia, such as how people will flat out call someone a fucking creep or a pedo if they openly enjoy the painter. Either these people are too retarded to see how serious an accusation like that can be, or they do and they just need to give a fucking reason to make Urban look like a terrible person. It's fucking pathetic. It's ironic because while quite a few of the community's beloved analog horror creators are being suspected or even exposed as pedophiles like Alex Kister and Squimpus McGrimpus, Urbanspook has never actually been proven to be a fucking pedophile. The only, in quotations, reliable source of evidence people can give is that he's a pedophile is the fuck Toy Corey thing. Because every other piece of evidence to support the argument they provide is as petty as this fuckhead's brain. That's why I was making fun of some of the tweets in the last video. They were fucking spiteful and ludicrous. And some people still got mad at me for thinking that I was acting like that's all I was doing to support my case. So keep in mind that we're not addressing the hypocrisy to defend the Painter series, since I already did that in the last video and I do not feel like explaining all that shit again. We're going to be addressing it to make sure that the actions by the analog community are to be exposed for the bullshit that is obviously to be considered way more shameful than Urban's. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Pastra is a horror YouTuber, and by horror I mean autistic furry horror, who specializes in making any interesting concept into something that would make watching paint dry seem more entertaining. His content consists mainly of explaining how a big brown bear made him shit his pants one time when he was a kid, and ever since he's been deathly afraid of anything related to mascots.
To those of you who are unaware of the Mandela Catalog story, or who need a refresher on it, the Mandela Catalog is an analog horror web series by Alex Kister. It focuses on the disturbing occurrences which haunt Mandela.
Didn't he fucking remove the child who got killed because of the spook shit? Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was fucking great, right? He was on a fucking stream with Wendy Goon talking about, oh yeah, the child is too far, bro. Killing kids is too far.
To a dangerous species of creatures which are simply referred to as
Yo, this fucking guy, bro. Imagine getting topped off by that guy. Bro, imagine getting fucking topped off by that guy.
Alternates. Alternates are intelligent, sadistic
let's skip
beings
this. I don't
that
give a shit.
Of it all.
I don't know why that fucking face. Let's run that back, bro. Let's run that back. Let's run that back, bro. Look at this shit, bro. I don't know why it's so funny to me. It's just the fucking eyes, bro.
Nobody seems to answer his prayers. Nobody ever comes to help him. No matter how hard he tries to see the light, nothing seems to go right for him. And that's when the sentence is written in the journal. Over and over and over again it's written, "Who have I been praying to all this time?" And the terrifying reality of this situation is that we, the viewer, have known from the start. Not being able to trust anyone, not even the very religion you swore yourself to, is a genuinely terrifying thought.
Not for Jalen, that's for sure. She has to deal with both.
Is perfectly conveyed through the writing of one simple sentence. And that is why this is the scariest sentence I've ever read. This sentence so perfectly encapsulates what makes the Mandela catalog so terrifying to me. It's hopelessness.
Dude, this is fucking gay.
Never have I
don't
watched
give a shit about hopelessness. Fuck off.
He's also Canadian, which, you know, seeing as his name comes from Pastrami, which is an abbreviation of the infamous kingpin, Don Pastrami, it wouldn't be a stretch to say he fucks goats. When Pastra isn't glazing whatever dog shit game he found on his jack-off break, he does whatever this gay shit is.
What's odd about him being in this game is that we never really see him and can't really fight him, yet he is the main villain. And what's even odder is that glitch trap, a glitch, is in medieval times.
Bro, why the fuck does dude sound like he'd be crying all the time?
Why was Freddy Fazbear even back?
The spookiness of FNAF VR is definitely not up to par with the previous titles. Starting with this kicking Freddy Fazbear's ass is not scary at all. There is nothing even remotely terrifying. Let's be honest.
You know, I'm really wondering how this is going to affect the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. Does this happen before or after the Bite of 87? The only reason I even know about this poster guy is because of the whole Urbanspook shit. There's really no need to say anything more on this, since, you know, I see one already went balls deep on the topic. I will say, one comment from his video caught my attention, it being from Spaghetti VHS, who mentions how Pastra continues to associate with a guy named Phisnom, live streamer whose content is somehow more fucking boring than Pastra's. Not long ago, Phil, which that's his name, was part of the dev team for FNAF Plus, some fucking fan game I don't care about. During that time, he fired up a live stream where he played Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, and in it, he calls the game a piece of shit.
Phil, you'll be fine. The game was patched. No, dude. I get it. Everybody has told me, hey Phil, will you replay Security Breach at some point or another? The game was patched. The game is fine now. Do you know how much energy I am storing right now? How much, like, I'm trying not to break? Okay, you know what? Fine. You know what? Fine. Let's see.
I really can't fucking blame him for that one. But, you know, this prompted the Chezzkids of the FNAF community to go completely apeshit, which led to one of them getting sent death threats, as well as the fucking Ronnie McNutt video by a member of Phil's audience. Phisnom responded to the whole thing with, you know, absolute finesse. Guy's a fucking legend for that one, though, let's be real. But, you know, it didn't really fly well with these crazies. It stirred up a lot of shit within the fucking insane asylum that is the FNAF community. These guys are going fucking crazy over this. It wasn't enough for him, though. He put out 2 more tweets joking about the situation with a rickroll.
Drink till I'm drunk, smoke till I'm high.
Only to then cave in and address the situation with this fucking banger of a tweet.
Jokes aside, sending people grand death threats is completely inexcusable behavior, and I obviously don't support this at all. I don't consider anyone that would do this a fan of me, so let me know who they are, and I will block them and ban them from my community.
He then apparently got fired, which, I mean, it wasn't specified that it was due to the whole thing, but, you know, even a retard could see the fucking link there. And after hearing all this, you're probably wondering, why am I even talking about this guy? As I've said earlier, Pastra Spec continues to publicly associate with the guy. He has gone on multiple live streams with him, as early as a month ago.
I heard you talking shit about kids. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Cancel me on Twitter? Newsflash, it already happened. Go fuck yourself. I'm invincible now.
I was about to tell on your parents. Oh wait, you don't have any.
I already got canceled. You can't do it twice, bitch.
I was going to say that, but I had to like hold myself back because I'm like, I'm better than that, and then Nick immediately did it for me.
I don't give a shit. What, dude?
Just woke up from one of the most viscerally horrifying nightmares I've ever had. I dreamt I traveled with my family to meet up with an old friend of my mother, and upon arriving there, this friend of hers took a liking to me. Yeah, this is sounding fucking terrible already. Over the course of the trip, he would try to isolate me from everyone else, trying to make it seem innocent. Bro, this guy's gonna fucking... I end up finding out in the dream that he has been obsessed with me since I was a child, and the reason he wanted to invite me on this trip was to kidnap me. Me and my family end up leaving and going home, but that night in my dream, because of dumb dream logic, while I was on my computer, a camera randomly appeared on my screen, which revealed that this man was now trying to break into my house. I tried calling 911, but while I was on call, he ended up breaking into my room. I mean, you know, to be fair, the story does sound more believable than a Boogie 2988 story. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. The last thing that happened before I woke up was him saying, "They won't even recognize you," before he started strangling me. Conveniently, he woke up right before he put his dick inside of his ass. This is the guy you're supposed to trust when it comes to what is and isn't scary, by the way. Now, normally I wouldn't give a shit if, you know, someone's, like, doing something that goes against their principles. But because this fucking Pastra guy, he seems like someone who just wants to be this beacon of morality. So, like, I can't help but notice the hypocrisy in his behavior. We're talking about a guy who believes that someone, including, what do you call it, essay of a fictional character in his horror series is, you know, distasteful, shouldn't be there, it's immoral. But, you know, my friend doesn't, you know, basically fucking approves of a kid getting sent gore and death threats. I won't even bat an eye to that one. It doesn't help that he says Spook should be deplatformed. Or maybe it was Chezzkids, I don't know. They're both homosexual, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. He basically tells his audience of children, monsters, and Chernobyl residents to talk shit to Urbanspook. You know, he addressed the whole thing in a fucking comment. I mean, you think that someone with a relatively big audience would do more to take accountability, like these fuckers say, than just say, oh, you know, I didn't know my fucking retarded fans would go out and shit talk Urbanspook. It's weird that they don't say, oh, well, you know, Pastra's in the wrong for that. But they do criticize the merch, which, like, did all the people who are criticizing the merch, I just think they're jealous they couldn't come up with the Raped Child t-shirt themselves. Honestly, I'm not suggesting that Pastra, you know, completely cut off Phisnom. It would go against his morals and his principles, but it's not like any of the people watching him, you know, give a shit if he's a snake. He could just stop associating with him in public, though. I mean, he acknowledges himself that his audience is a bunch of kids. So why influence these kids negatively? Just give them blowjobs in private, bro. Like, no one wants to hear about it.
I'm really sorry for those who had to see that. So I want to talk more about Pastra, since he was kind of the whole spark of the whole controversy. Pastra has a big audience, especially with his association with Phisnom, and he's an influential figure in the dogshit FNAF community. Because of this, you really would only expect his fans to be dick suckers to whatever he does, which was clearly demonstrated. Let's go back to the beginning of the whole thing. Pastra stated his own opinion, right? Who gives a fuck? But then when the whole drama started, a bunch of FNAF glazes did what you would usually expect and attacked Urbanspook. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because nobody really chooses to talk about Pastra's whole responsibility during that entire thing. Because as Bombman said, no one would really give a fuck if Pastra was secretly like a snake, or just a dumbass like he is. Now before we get into this, I just want to say how fucking funny it is how hard Pastra has tried to make Urban look like the lesser man, just because he called Pastra's favorite kind of poor autistic. Nonetheless, Pastra is literally the one who influenced the lynch party against Urban in the first place. I'm not saying it was intentional, but I'm guessing he probably felt good about the fame and support that he was getting because of it. So I want to make a quick special thanks to someone who was very good at keeping track of the drama. When I got in contact with him, he provided me with a lot of interesting stuff and even made a really good argument about Pastra. Oh shit. Well, shout out to him. Bro, I was wondering when this guy was gonna get banned because this dude was on thin ice and did not give a fuck. Hey, rest in peace if you're watching this video. So according to the information by this guy, Pastra had said on like one of his live streams from a while ago that anyone can like whatever they want and they shouldn't let people take away the things you like. That sounds like a Pastra thing to say. I wish I had the source, but since this live stream was like from a long time ago, it would have been a pain in the ass to find. So even after he said that, he went on to say that everyone as a community should stop praising kinds of work like Urbanspooks. And now that I mention it, it's so fucking stupid that people are not allowed to support a certain kind of media that is out of the criteria that is set by these popular communities that are full of furries and Discord degenerates. I know I sound like, oh, so I'm not allowed to watch people dying on gore videos, but that would just be oversimplifying it. since people would already call you edgy if you even like the painter anyway. Like, fuck you. Then again, these are the same people that make jokes about 9/11 and other historical genocides, but they don't allow people to joke about autism or schizophrenia, because apparently that is what crosses the line. Like, huh? These people also blatantly accuse Urbanspook of pedophilia with no evidence whatsoever. But then when Urban tells him to fuck off with a little tablespoon of ableism, he becomes public enemy #1. But nobody calls out the hypocrisy in that. Of course not. Also, on a side note, I don't care if people call me edgy for this, but I swear to God, watching Pastra's content is more brain fucking than watching fatal car crashes and Kuwait explosions on Instagram Reels. Anyway, so later it turns out that Pastra actually made a comment on an Urbanspook analysis video apologizing, in quotations, for weaponizing his audience against Urbanspook, and that he's gonna own up to it. I must admit that after watching it, that my initial post about Urbanspook did quite harsh in hindsight. I wasn't exactly trying to do some major call to action against the series or rally my community against him. And then he says that fucking, if I could go back, I would probably do it so in a way that expresses that better and makes it feel like less of trying to weaponize my audience against a smaller creator. Yeah, buddy, we're a little late on that one, weren't you? Keep in mind that he said this even though he chose not to say shit about the attack on Urban that was going on. He obviously knew that people were accusing him of being a pedophile, and I think even distributing child porn. I don't know, some motherfucker on Reddit said that. I don't know. Also, you can clearly see that he was celebrating when Urban took down his Twitter account, implying that he knew what was going on, and he was in like full support of it. Even if he was trying to like be sincere about this apology, he was more trying to get himself out of the backlash than trying to like take responsibility in like the shit that Urbanspook was being accused of on Twitter. You were still a part of the problem, Pastra, you dumb fuck. Like, bruh, if you weren't trying to weaponize your audience, then why the fuck did you sit there moving on with your fucking Catgirl headphones playing Bendy in the Dark Revival instead of trying to address anything about the charade that you started against this creator? Take some fucking responsibility for how you influence your community. This dude deadass just licked the tip and dipped after calling Urban Series distasteful garbage while his whole fucking fanbase went to jump him. Call me an edgy Urbanspook dick rider, but it won't change the fact that your community is a bunch of hypocritical FNAF meat-riding children.
Before we even have the chance to, this happens.
No! Leave me! Please! Just go! Run!
Why'd they go up there, though?
Just like that, one of the few friendly faces seen in this chapter is brutally eaten alive from the inside, using his final moments of consciousness to beg us to leave before he becomes a puppet that tries to kill us.
Bro.
But his words are spoken in vain, because not long after, his voice is lost to the sound
He's trying so hard to make Poppy Playtime sound scary, bro. As the giant lady vored me alive, I couldn't help but feel nothing but my insides being disintegrated by the stomach acids pressing against me. What the fuck? I'd also like to mention, since I don't think I've made this clear enough, that not only is the analog horror community attacking Urbanspook, but they also like to harass his fans as well. It's not really just the shit Urbanspook fans get on Twitter, but it also involves these people stalking subreddits and trying to humiliate them for liking a creator. Because now everyone views them as edgelords or fucking 4chan users. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. You don't have to like the series, but stop trying to ridicule other people who don't have the same taste in horror like you do. And flat out stalking them on subreddits and Discord servers or whatever the fuck overall makes you worse than what you see of Urbanspook himself. All y'all narcissistic motherfuckers think you have the morality because you, Pastra, and fucking Minaxa don't stand for fictional CSA, but you've only exacerbated yourself as a community. No fucking wonder Urbanspook is planning on leaving the community.
I notice a pattern with a lot of the people who are calling out Urbanspook when it comes to how he presents himself, whether it be the internet, whatever the fuck. These people basically think that if you're an edgy person, you're a bad person. These people think they have the moral high ground and the authority to decide what you can and can't put in your content. Take Minaxa, for example. He acts like Spook saying he has no personal limits on his fucking Twitter is the same as Hitler being resurrected.
Fortunately, a friend of mine has documented one of these deleted interactions, and after being directly confronted with the use of the content I just described just a bit ago, his response is to say, I have no personal limits to what's okay or not, and it will probably get worse? That's not really the kind of response that you would expect from someone. He knew that, because
He, much like every other cunt who jumped on the bandwagon, seems to have a big issue with Spook using sensitive topics in a series. He never really explains his reasoning. I mean, he just says, oh, you can't have sexual assault of children in your horror series. Why? Because I fucking said so. That's his reasoning. That's his fucking reasoning. What I also find interesting is that a lot of these guys who are jumping on the fucking bandwagon are very artistic. They should know that art shouldn't be fucked over simply because it has topics they don't like. Artists should be able to express dissenting opinions and push the boundaries of what's acceptable without fearing potential censorship. But, I guess they're too far into the analog horror pipeline to really realize it. I saw a few people when the whole Spook shit happened who were saying that Pastra is like the nicest guy in the analog horror community and how Chezzkids is a super chill guy or some fucking shit. The only reason they say this is because they're both pussies, I think Big Bungie, my fucking goat, said it best.
What I need people to understand is that acting inoffensive online does not constitute emotional growth. You can be a super inoffensive little pussy like Carl Jacobs and still be a massive piece of shit. Equally, you could be a big meanie online and be a good person in real life. The way you talk of people on the internet does not determine if you're a good or bad person. What makes you a good or bad person is if you rate—
I feel it applies in this case because most of the criticisms aimed at Spook are just because of shock value. It's a word that these fucks love to use. Or they're just, unsubstantiated claims that he's a fetishist because of his old animations a la Noobground. Everyone was fucking making these jokes back then. I guess Flash Gits must be pedophiles too, since they made a bunch of fucking jokes like these.
Hey, you know what you would call the Flintstones if they were black? You'd call them—
If you really think about it, Spook joked about pedophilia and, Epstein as well. So, clearly Epstein and Spook cut from the same cloth. I notice it mainly with Pastra's audience. These are the kinds of people who will simply want you to say virtuous things instead of actually showing that you're a virtuous person. All these people care about is performativism. They don't give a shit if you're a terrible person. Truly, if these people gave a shit about morality or their favorite creators being virtuous, they would at least have a little bit of fucking suspicion when it comes to Pastra and Phisnom hanging out together. What the fuck do I know, eh?
Huh? Packing the mail, it's gone. She like I smell cologne.
So in the last video, I stated that I wasn't really sure on what my stance was on the Urbanspook merch. But then I received some comments that provided a very interesting argument and made a lot of sense on how inconsistent the fucking logic is as to why people have such a big problem with it. Like, I was like, why the fuck did I not acknowledge this earlier? This one person in my comments from the last video says, and I quote, "Horror authors and artists alike have been selling messed up merch for a long time now, and people rarely complain about them." See, this statement is completely factual, because people on Twitter confront the idea that Urban is selling a shirt that has a story that involves an 11-year-old boy who was sexually assaulted and all that shit. I originally was gonna be neutral about the idea of this and why people were pissed off about it, because I was, I try to see both sides of it, except when it's complete dumb fuckery like this. But with some new convincing arguments, I feel like I should have considered it sooner. This fucking merch is no different from a bunch of other merch that have serial killers and horror villains from back in like the 20th century. You'd have shirts with Freddy fucking Krueger, who I think molested and tortured children. You'd even have Freddy Fazbear slapped onto a fucking shirt, and the story behind him is that there's a child's corpse stuffed inside it. It's literally the same issue, and it's weird as hell trying to comprehend the logic behind what these people are trying to make an example of pedophilic intentions out of. Speaking of fuck toy Corey, yo, when the fuck we getting the plush on sale? Like, genuinely curious. On Baby Yam.
I'm gonna have you shaking like you got rabies. Funk, I seen my mom and grandma on an episode on Black Damn I Thanks got 2K tats.
Alright, so this part is gonna be like pretty heated because technically this dude and like his fans have been, making fun of Urbanspook and his fans, so I could do the exact same thing. I want to talk about this fucking moron on Twitter named Chezzkids, who thinks he's the shit, but he's just a dirty, disgusting fat fuck with a fan base that does nothing but draw furry feet porn for him. Alright, that was a bit exaggerated, But dude, like, there's been a lot of beef that I've been holding in for months because of this filthy fuck who people see as a martyr because he apparently, in quotations, bullied Urbanspook off Twitter. I swear to God, this dude Chezzkids have dick suckers worse than Pastras. Because all they do is act like Chezzkids actually pulled some crazy shit on him. Like, bruh, this is my dead-ass reaction. I know I sound immature for talking all this shit, but bro, hear me out, because I actually have a good reason to hate this guy. I think this guy thinks that he has the most influential amount of say about Urbanspook because he has the entire analog horror community sucking him off over the weakest shit.
Get his ass, Chezzkids. You tell him, Chez. Cannot wait for you to actually make a horror series that is actually disturbing and not just mascot horror. This is why Chezzkids is the GOAT! You guys actually make gore in your series stick because you care about your characters.
Pause.
Ain't that the truth, Chezzkids? As a furry myself, I've had—
oh, Jesus. But he's only credited because he told Urban to go fuck himself. This guy also goes out of his way and argues that Urban should be deplatformed because of the kind of content he creates and wants this shitty idea to be talked about more throughout the fucking community. Y'all gotta see how dumb that shit sounds. The fact that this guy thinks people are not allowed to make VHS videos that go over the limits of the garbage people expect nowadays is fucking absurd. Because what Chezzkids and his degenerate audience thinks is that if the VHS series has no crazy Marvel-ass story behind it, or if it covers sensitive topics, or is made just for the sake of scaring people, then that creator should be removed from the platform and prohibited from doing what they enjoy entirely. What? Also, I think a while ago, Urbanspook tweeted a screenshot of Alex Kister, who apparently might love kids now, not fucking surprised, liking a tweet from this dude Chezzkids, who calls somebody out for being a pedophile, and then randomly decides to bring up Urbanspook, associating him and his work with pedophilia. This is the shit that pisses me off. Motherfuckers like Chezzkids will immediately think of Urbanspook when it comes to pedophilia in the FNAF community.
Oh, this guy's a pedophile? Oh, this guy probably watches Urbanspook.
Just because you have this ego about your fucking VHS series doesn't mean you have any right to decide what other creators want to make their horror like. You're not fucking special, except you are. Fuck this dude Chezzkids. Fuck whoever drew this anomalous monstrosity. And fuck whoever this is. So yeah, that's basically the gist of what's been going on. I think this is the only video that actually goes balls deep into why the degenerates in the analog horror community are effectively much worse than Urbanspook using ableist insults, which really, who the fuck wouldn't want to call people like Pastra autistic, let's be honest. I want to say one more thing that's in favor to Urbanspook regarding his side of the story. The artwork he made was essentially just art that he wanted to incorporate into a horror series. The shit like Fuck Toy Corey wasn't even the original meaning behind the drawing, which was made long before he even thought of the painter. He never gave a shit about making a good story, and he only wanted to put his drawings into a VHS narrative where an evil serial killer paints them to mock his victims. And as for the CSA, literally that was considered the normal trope in old slasher movies, like fucking Jack the Ripper or something, like those old fucking European films, which is what Urbanspook was more inspired by than the shit like the fucking Walton Files and the Mandela Catalog. I think it's a good thing that we got a piece of horror that is different from what everyone glazes at nowadays. Something simple for once, and not so fucking convoluted with a story. I also believe that these people need to at least understand that Pastra and Chezzkids are not in the right either, as they've tried to twist their audience to where there's a certain limit to horror that's acceptable in the community. The flaws in their arguments can be clearly seen, but everyone always dick sucks them anyway. Which is why not many people actually speak out about the reality of this shit. Which is why the Bombman and I, who we only wish could be clowned on by Chezzkids' audience, think it's right to call these people out. So here's a special thanks to some of the commenters of the last video I made for opening my perspective of the controversy with more information. Y'all are awesome. Of course, a special thanks to Midwich Bombman, my partner in crime who volunteered to feature himself in this video very well. And also one to Gost for dropping his hardest album yet called Prophecy. Go check that shit out because it's fucking insane. So with that being said, thank you all for watching this video. It's been a long time in the making, and we'll see you guys later.